Hey everybody, come on in here. It's time for Coffee with Scott Adams. That's me, and you're you. That's all we need. No, that's not all we need. We also need a beverage. I like coffee, and if you like a beverage, and you like the simultaneous sip, grab your cup, your mug, your chalice, your stein, your thermos, if you will, and join me for the simultaneous sip. Oh, thank you for that super heart. I appreciate that. Well, there's a lot of news. According to CNN, President Trump is deviously denuclearizing the Korean peninsula to distract from Michael Cohen's testimony. I'm not even making that up. That's an actual headline, or an article. It's an article in CNN's page that he's literally using North Korean denuclearization as a distraction from Michael Cohen. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like we already know what Cohen's going to say because it's been reported. But here are some immediate observations. There's a conspiracy theory that there's nothing in my cup. And yet, you can see that there is. Ah, delicious. So, does it seem to you that this whole Cohen testimony is a lot like Geraldo opening Al Capone's safe? Do you remember that story? This is many years ago. Geraldo had an exclusive special in which he had discovered Al Capone's safe. And he opened it on live TV only to find that there wasn't much in there. I love Geraldo, but that was a funny event in his life. And now we're watching the Cohen bombshell. And I happened to turn on TV late last night and see Don Lemon and his assembled panel talking about what they knew already Cohen was going to say, because I guess there's some release of a statement or something. And I kept waiting for the bombshell. Did you do that? Did you have the same experience I did? It's like, oh God, there's a bombshell coming. Where's the bombshell? And he kept reading things as if they were bombshells. Except the only thing bombshell about it was the way he was reading it. And so, to give you a demonstration of Don Lemon or anybody else at CNN reading the bombshells from Michael Cohen, I give you Dale. Dale, can you come over here? Okay. There are bombshells. Bombshells, I say, from Michael Cohen. Let me read a few. This is going to be big, folks. Michael Cohen is going to testify that Donald Trump uses hairspray. Whoa. What does this mean for impeachment, panel? Anybody? This is the big one. This is what we've been waiting for. This is something we never knew before. This is new. Bombshell. Bombshell. And scene. Is it my imagination, or is everything that has already been revealed about what Cohen's going to say all the stuff we already knew? Let me give you an example of some of the bombshells. I'm not even making this up. If you came into this without actually knowing that this is real, you would not believe that I'm giving you the straight story. One of the bombshells is that Michael Cohen once saw Don Jr. say to his father that a meeting had been set. That's it. That's the bombshell. Now, it happened to be around the same time frame as Don Jr.'s meeting with the Russian lawyer. But I don't think that's much connecting material there. Because do you know what campaigns do more than any other thing? What's the one thing a presidential campaign does in terms of the way it spends its time more than any other thing. A meeting? What is the most common thing that Donald Trump does during his day? A meeting? Do you know who else had a meeting with Donald Trump? Even I had a meeting with the president. Meetings are kind of what you do. That would be the opposite of a bombshell. I personally witnessed Don Jr. breathing oxygen. Oxygen, I say. Probably related to the climate disaster or something. I don't know. It seems like a bombshell. I don't know why. But he was breathing. I saw it with my own eyes, my own ears. Bombshell. See. Let's see. What other bombshells? All the rest is the stuff we already knew. But then CNN likes to throw in that Cohen has a, quote, racist allegation. That'll be some new thing we hear. Now, I watched Don Lemon read the statement that Cohen is going to present. And it was curiously missing a racial allegation. Or Don Lemon decided not to mention an allegation of racism from Michael Cohen. Oh, I don't think that happened. I don't believe that Don Lemon would have skipped that part of the story. And yes, CNN is still reporting that there's some kind of racist bombshell coming. But why don't we know what that is already? Maybe it's still ahead of us. We'll see. But here's the funniest thing of all. Did you see the Matt Gaetz tweets about Cohen? You think things have gone to the greatest extreme you'll ever see on Twitter. Every once in a while you'll see a tweet and you'll say, well, nobody's going to go further than that. Like, I don't think anybody will do a tweet that's more outrageous than that one. And then you wake up in the morning and you go, well, let's see what's on Twitter. Ah, somebody topped it. Somebody topped it. So in case you didn't see it, Matt Gaetz mentioned on Twitter, I say mentioned, CNN is reporting it as threats and intimidating the witness, that maybe it was time for Michael Cohen, according to Matt Gaetz, to talk to his wife and his father-in-law about his, quote, girlfriends. Now, I don't have any personal information about Michael Cohen's girlfriends, but let's just say somebody does. I'm sure somebody does. Somewhere somebody has it. I doubt he would have tweeted it otherwise. Now, is it over the line for... Oh, and then he also wondered if Cohen's wife would stay with him while he's in prison. So I've never quite seen anybody tweet that somebody's wife is going to be banging another guy when he's in prison. That's as extreme as I think I've ever seen on Twitter. I mean, that's really taking it to the edge. And as soon as I saw that, I thought to myself, oh my God, Gaetz is going to get just destroyed by the press, because they're going to say that's way over the line. You know, it's threatening, it's everything else. And then I watched him defending his tweet. He's deleted it, somebody says. But it doesn't matter because he already got the press. And so when they asked him to defend it, he said, and I'm paraphrasing, well, Michael Cohen's already lied to Congress. He's already lied to Mueller. He's lied to the police. He's lied to I don't know who else. And then he said, shouldn't we also know if he's lied to his family? Because it's part of the context of knowing whether we can trust what he says about the president. And I thought to myself, that is simultaneously the dirtiest trick I've ever seen. At the same time, it's kind of valid. Meaning that if we're trying to judge, is he credible, it does count. You don't want it to count. You would like to live in a world where none of that stuff ever comes up and it doesn't matter and it's not directly related to the question, so let's just forget about it. But it does kind of count. It does count. And to me, it looked like a case of mutually assured destruction, meaning that Michael Cohen is so destroyed at this point, and I'm not happy about that, but I can't be happy about anybody's life being destroyed. But Matt Gaetz just snuffed out whatever was left of any hope this guy had of getting out of college, getting out of jail in a few years and returning to his happy life. It doesn't look like that's going to happen, which is horrible, but it can fairly be said that Michael Cohen brought all of it upon himself. So, Matt Gaetz, from a perspective of persuasion, and now we will depart from the moral and ethical framework, and I'll trust you to put your own moral and ethical, filter on this. But that's not my expertise unless I'm wearing my Pope hat. So I'll just talk about the persuasion element of it. So Matt Gaetz got the entire country, including the anti-Trumpers, to focus on how many times Cohen has lied and in how many different fields of endeavors he's lied. We all just talked about how much Cohen was a big old liar across all kinds of different fields, and including cheating on his wife, allegedly, according to Matt Gaetz. And it was probably one of the most successful persuasion plays you're going to see all year. Now, somebody said that Matt Gaetz deleted his tweet. Well, I don't know if that's true. I kind of hope it is. But the tweet did everything it was supposed to do. It made the entire country focus on Matt Gaetz. And what did CNN and most of the news say about him? They called him a close confidant of the president. Now, if you're in Congress and you're a young guy or a young woman, and the news all over the country is reporting that you're a close confidant to the President of the United States, does that work for you? Yes, it does. It works for you really well, because it shows that you're not just one of the Congress people, but you're connected to power in a way that they're not. So, and then also I have to say, and again, we're talking about persuasion only. You can put your own ethical and moral filters on what I'm talking about, and I'll trust you to do that. But just in terms of the effectiveness of the persuasion, it turns out that Matt Gaetz is really good on television. And so when they tried to sort of corner him to make him, walk back his tweet or his comments, not only did he not walk them back, but he hit a base clearing home run in competently explaining his point and making it actually relevant to the news and defending it. Now, you could argue that he still shouldn't have done it, and moral and ethical concerns are bigger, and I'm not even going to get into that argument. But boy, did he hit a home run, both for his career and for his objective, I guess, which was to decrease Cohen's credibility, what little he had. Now, let's give you an update on the Charlottesville hoax. For anybody new, the Charlottesville hoax is CNN and other anti-Trumpers still reporting the fake news that President Trump called white supremacists fine people. Now, of course, that didn't happen. It's widely reported as fact, and it just didn't happen. What did happen is that the president, referring to people on both sides of the Confederate statue issue, said there are good people who hold both, fine people on both sides, meaning that there are people who can hold both opinions and still be fine people. Not referring to the racist, who he specifically disavowed. But CNN still reports it as if he said they were fine people. Fake news. So, catching you up, I have made a number of public statements that it's fake news. And then Joel Pollack in Breitbart, writing for Breitbart, made a big article calling Chris Cuomo a liar, a damned liar. Those were his actual words in a tweet that I retweeted. It's got over 2,000 retweets, talking about CNN, calling them out, and Joel's quote actually, tags Cuomo. So I would say there is zero chance that they are not aware of this criticism. Don't know for sure, but I would say that the odds of them being unaware of it are close to zero. And so we waited. And I gave you a challenge. I said, watch how we will be ignored. And can you imagine that there would be any other situation in which someone as prominent as me, and again, I'm not super prominent, I'm sort of, low-level prominent, but prominent enough that if I say something outrageous, it makes news. I am a source of news if I say anything provocative or outrageous, and you've seen it a million times. A few times a week I'll see an article about me, something I said, and it's in the mainstream media, etc. And I predicted that it would be completely ignored, even though it's amazingly provocative. I'm calling a major story, I'm calling it fake news. Right in public, and I'm not being challenged on it, because nobody can challenge it. To challenge it would be to dismantle the entire anti-Trump machinery. It would lay bare how nakedly partisan they are, even more so than people already understand. I think people understand that CNN is partisan. They understand that Fox News is partisan. But they don't quite understand the degree of it. The degree of it is still shocking and not visible to everyone. And when the Charlottesville hoax falls, and I think it will, I think that will someday be called one of the biggest hoaxes of all time, it's going to change people's mind about how big the problem is. So it will size it, but it won't change people's general idea of it. So it's now day two. Day two, no reaction whatsoever. No pushback. No sending us a link to show why we're wrong. No telling us that we're crazy. No saying that we're illegitimate commenters. No argument whatsoever on something incredibly provocative. That's the dog that doesn't bark, ladies and gentlemen. That is the white space in your, it's the blank space in your composition of your portrait. It's the part you need to pay attention to by its non-existence. All right, let's talk about North Korea. I looked at the initial photos. I think they were probably the first photos of Trump and Kim. And I thought that Kim looked ill. Did anybody else have that impression? So Chairman Kim, in the initial photos that were, the initial photos where they were shaking hands for the camera, he looked like he was struggling a little bit. He was sweaty, but I don't think that was the problem. It looked like he was a little unhealthy or something. Somebody said scared or nervous. Maybe. Maybe he was nervous. It's possible. But he looked ill. Now, when I saw the pictures of the dinner, he looked like he was feeling better. It was a long train ride. He probably didn't sleep much, etc. I was also looking at the chemistry between Trump and Kim as they were just sort of having some minor interactions. And unlike most of you, although like some of you, I suppose, I got to spend some time, just a little bit, with President Trump in the White House. And I got to experience his sort of focused charisma. Mostly when you see the president, he's broadcasting his charisma. In other words, it's one person, the president, talking to millions of people. And so that's one mode. But you haven't seen his focused charisma, meaning it's just you and him, one-on-one. And his focused charisma is pretty frickin' strong, all right? It would be hard to be in his presence alone and not feel like you're with somebody who's got some extra, gear. He's got that charisma thing that I don't know if you're born with it or you develop it, but he definitely has a lot of it. Somebody says he healed Kim by touching him. That's pretty funny. But anyway, my reaction was it looked like the two of them have a genuine personal connection. And someday, assuming things go well with North Korea, and I think that they clearly are, that's my opinion, someday, I think people are going to say that his genius was understanding that this was a personal problem disguised as a military problem, disguised as a political problem. And maybe it just never was. Maybe it was just a personal problem, and he was the first one to understand it correctly. I think that's how history will write this story. All right. So we'll wait to see about all that.